Hey folks, glad you're here. Talking about a #1 9mm pistol in America is one of those conversations that never really settles down. Everyone has a favorite, everyone has a story, and someone is always ready to tell you why your pick is wrong. That's kind of the fun part. As 2026 rolls in, the market is packed tighter than ever. New releases show up with bold claims, redesigned slides, optics cuts, and spec sheets that look great on paper. But once the range dust settles and the round count climbs, only a handful of pistols keep showing up in holsters, nightstands, range bags, and training classes. Those are the guns that matter. This list is built around that reality. Not hype, not trends that last a season, but what shooters are actually trusting right now. Some of these picks will feel obvious. A few might raise eyebrows. Either way, the top spot is earned the hard way, and that's exactly what we're digging into. The CZP-10C has a funny reputation. People who actually shoot a lot tend to respect it, and people who shop mostly with their eyes tend to walk right past it. In the hand, it feels natural, with a grip angle and texture that stay planted when your palms get sweaty. The trigger is clean enough to run drills without fighting, and the gun tracks predictably when you start speeding up. It also points very naturally for most shooters. One detail that shows up over and over is what owners do after they buy it. They do not baby it. They shoot it, they tinker with it, and they keep it in rotation. A ported slide or a sight swap is common, not because the stock gun is broken, but because it invites practical tuning. Accuracy is easy to access. Recoil is controllable, and the package feels more refined than the price tag suggests. Compared with the most common carry pistols, you will usually find fewer off-the-shelf holsters and fewer drop-in parts at the local shop. None of that stops the gun from doing the job, but it can slow down the build process if you like to customize, if you are willing to put in that extra effort. The P10C gives you a lot of pistol for the money. The Ruger Security 9 is the pistol a lot of people buy before they learn the internet has opinions about everything. No shame in that. That is called being practical. It is not a flex gun. It is a get-it-done gun. Ruger tends to build stuff that keeps running, even when it is not treated like a museum piece, and this one follows that pattern. Controls are straightforward. The grip is comfortable, and the recoil impulse is softer than many new shooters expect. This is also the kind of pistol that makes sense in a real budget conversation. Plenty of folks want a reliable 9mm for home defense, range practice, or a first carry setup, and they would rather spend money on ammo and a class than on branding. Security 9 gives them that option. It will not win a trigger contest, but the trigger is usable, and the gun is generally forgiving when you are learning fundamentals. Where it asks for compromise is refinement. Aftermarket choices exist, but they are not endless, and the gun does not have the same deep ecosystem as the big names. That is fine if your goal is simple reliability. If your goal is to tinker, chase upgrades, and turn a pistol into a personal project, you will hit the ceiling sooner. The M&P 2.0 is a good example of a pistol that earned its place by fixing its own problems instead of pretending they never existed. Early versions had legitimate complaints, especially around the trigger and grip feel. Rather than brushing that off, Smith & Wesson actually listened and made changes that matter when the round count climbs. The grip texture is aggressive in a way that works during long-range sessions. It locks into the hand without shredding skin or forcing gloves. Recoil control feels predictable, and the gun stays flatter than many expect once you start running controlled pairs or transitions. The trigger is not match grade, but it is consistent enough that it stops being a distraction and lets you focus on shooting. This platform shows up quietly in a lot of places. It gets carried, trained with, and relied on without much fanfare. That kind of boring reliability tends to go unnoticed until something else fails. Over time, that builds confidence, even if it does not spark excitement. What defines the M&P 2.0 is balance. It does not chase trends or overpromise. It gives shooters a solid baseline that works across range use, duty roles, and home defense without demanding much adjustment. It is the kind of pistol people stop thinking about once it is set up, which is usually a sign that it is doing its job. The Walther PDP is the pistol that reminds people why trigger feel still matters, no matter how many times someone says it does not. The break is clean. The reset is obvious, and it makes running drills feel smoother without having to fight the gun. That alone explains why so many shooters notice tighter groups and faster follow-up shots the first time they pick one up. The slide design looks aggressive, but it is not just cosmetic. It gives positive grip for manipulations, and the optics mounting system feels like it was designed by someone who actually runs a dot. There is no unnecessary complexity, and once mounted, the setup stays put. On the range, the gun tracks well and returns to target naturally, especially when pushing pace. The grip is where opinions start to split. Some hands settle in immediately, others never quite do. It is not a flaw so much as a specific shape that either works for you or does not. Shooters who spend a lot of time practicing tend to appreciate how the gun rewards good fundamentals and consistent grip pressure. The PDP fits best with people who enjoy shooting for the sake of shooting. It feels like a pistol built to be used hard at the range, rather than optimized purely for convenience or carry comfort. The Springfield Echelon feels like a pistol that was designed after watching years of shooters complain about small annoyances and then actually doing something about them. Instead of chasing a single, flashy feature, it focuses on solving multiple practical problems at once. The modular chassis system is not there to show off. It exists so the grip, balance, and overall feel can be tuned without turning ownership into a long-term project. One of the strongest impressions comes from the optics mounting system. It is clean, straightforward, and avoids the usual stacking plates and questionable screw choices that plague many modern pistols. Once an optic is mounted, it stays put, and that inspires confidence quickly. On the range, the Echelon shoots flatter than expected. Recoil is controlled. Transitions feel smooth, and the grip texture strikes a good balance between traction and comfort. What separates the Echelon from older duty-style pistols is how current it feels. It does not punish imperfect grip. It does not demand constant adjustment, and it does not feel like it is fighting the shooter. This makes it approachable for newer shooters while still being satisfying for experienced ones. Right now, the Echelon occupies an interesting space. People are paying attention. They are shooting it, setting it up, and then watching how it holds up over time. That quiet curiosity says more than hype ever could. The Canik TP9 SFX has a habit of making price conversations uncomfortable, especially for guns that cost significantly more. The trigger is the obvious headline, and it still feels almost unfair. The break is crisp, the reset is short, and it encourages fast, confident shooting without demanding perfection from the user. For many shooters, it is the first time a factory trigger actually feels like an advantage. This pistol is clearly built with the range in mind. The longer slide and sight radius help with precision, and the recoil impulse stays manageable even when strings get long. It is forgiving enough to let shooters learn and improve, but honest enough to show mistake. That balance makes it a favorite for people who spend real-time training instead of just punching paper occasionally. Many owners buy the TP9 SFX expecting to upgrade it later and never bother. It already does what they want it to do. Accuracy is solid, reliability is proven, and the overall package feels focused rather than compromised. The trade-off is size and roll. This is not a casual carry gun for most people. It is built to perform when the round count is high and attention is on shooting, not concealment. For shooters who value performance per dollar and live at the range, that focus is exactly the appeal. The P365X Macro represents a shift in how a lot of Americans think about what a carry pistol should be. Instead of choosing between concealability and shootability, this design tries to land in the middle. It keeps a slim profile while giving a full-length grip that actually fills the hand. For many shooters, that changes how confident they feel when drawing and firing under stress. What stands out immediately is how manageable it feels for its size. The longer grip gives better leverage, and the pistol feels more stable during rapid strings than most people expect from a carry-focused platform. Sight tracking is easy, reloads feel natural, and the overall shooting experience feels closer to a compact pistol than a micro. That balance is the entire point of this model. Another reason it shows up everywhere is how well it fits modern carry habits. Lights, optics, and concealment setups are easy to find, and the platform integrates smoothly into existing routines. People are not reinventing their setup to make it work. They are simply swapping it in and moving on. The X Macro also benefits from timing. It arrived when shooters were already asking for higher capacity without moving back to bulky frames. That demand did not come from marketing. It came from people who carry daily and want a pistol that feels capable without feeling oversized. That is why this one keeps showing up in serious conversations. The Glock 19 sits at the top, not because it tries to impress, but because it quietly fits into more lives than almost anything else on this list. It occupies a size category that works across roles without forcing hard compromises. It is small enough to carry, large enough to shoot well, and familiar enough that most shooters already understand how it behaves before the first round is fired. One of its biggest advantages is how little mental energy it requires. Setup is simple, maintenance is straightforward, and support is everywhere. That reduces friction for new shooters and removes distractions for experienced ones. When something becomes easy to live with, people tend to stick with it longer, and that consistency builds trust over time. Another factor that rarely gets mentioned is institutional familiarity. Training programs, range drills, and instructional material often assume a Glock-style layout. That means skills transfer easily, and practice feels repeatable. For many shooters, that matters more than marginal gains in features or refinement. The Glock 19 also benefits from being predictable. It does not surprise you, and it does not demand adaptation every time you pick it up. That reliability of experience is a form of confidence that is hard to quantify but easy to feel. In the context of 2026, when options are endless and opinions are loud, the Glock 19 remains the pistol that simply fits. Not perfectly, but consistently. And consistency is often what keeps something on top long after trends move on. Handgun lists will always spark debate, and honestly, that is part of why they matter. There is no single pistol that fits everyone perfectly, and there never will be. What does stand out heading into 2026 is how certain designs keep showing up in real use long after the excitement fades. These are the guns people carry, train with, and trust when it actually counts. Preferences will keep changing. New models will keep coming, but consistency tends to win in the long run. If your personal pick landed somewhere else on this list, that is expected. Drop it in the comments and explain why. Those real-world experiences are what keep this conversation honest and worth having.